Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Another episode of That Millwall podcast. Tonight I'm joined by Stephen, and Stephen and I are going to talk through the disappointing result last night against Birmingham, the last chance saloon, last three games, do a bit of a Wigan preview, and then just talk about where we're potentially going to finish, hopefully for the rest of the season in that top six position. So introducing my co-host tonight. Hello, Stephen. How you doing, mate?
I'm all right. It was nice to get an invite to talk about the game yesterday because I think there's a lot that needs to be said, even though it's a bit of I think it's still raw for a lot of fans. But looking forward to it as always, and hopefully we can get to the bottom of why we lost yesterday.
Absolutely, mate. Absolutely. And we were speaking earlier, and I thought there was just a lot of raw emotion from obviously the backlash of the result. And we did a Spaces last night, and there was just a lot of different viewpoints. And it seemed normally when we get beat after a game, we can all probably point a finger in one certain direction, or if we didn't play well, everyone says that. But last night was a bit of a strange one because, again, from my point of view, we didn't play badly again, but we've said this a couple of times now. At this stage of the season, it's not about how well we play, right? It's about getting that 3 points, or even a point would have done us last night. But yeah, I didn't feel like we played too badly. But again, we just seem to squander so many decent opportunities. But generally, what were your thoughts on the game last night? Obviously, you went. What was your thoughts on the game? What was the atmosphere like? Obviously, I heard a few boos at full time. Yeah, so general thoughts on last night?
I just think and I've said it a few times about individual players, but perhaps it's more aimed at the team. I think teams are starting to just work us out, and it's taken teams up until game 40 of the league to do it, but they've done it at the point where it matters the most. And that's the killer thing. I mean, I thought Birmingham were okay. Their tactics were horrendous in the sense of going down every 5 minutes and time wasting and whatnot. You know, it was almost as if they were scrapping. Early, right? It was almost as if they're scrapping for their lives and desperate for a point. And, you know, it was a nothing game for them. But they were okay. They moved the ball all right. They cut the players in midfield. Obviously, Jude Bellingham's brother played last night and you know, a couple of others. It's frustrating because we didn't play badly, but I don't think we particularly played well either. We had spells, we had, you know, dominated chances as we did at Hull, but as I said, Huddersfield found a way to beat us, Hull found a way to beat us, and Birmingham found a way to beat us. And all it's taken is it's taken teams one really good chance. And I'd even go as far as to say the chance last night, which I'm sure we'll come on to, it wasn't even a good chance. It was pretty unlucky from our point of view, but that's what happens. You know, teams pounce on one mistake or two mistakes, which again we'll come on to. I don't agree with the booing. There was booing at half time. The atmosphere, as we've already spoke about, wasn't particularly great, but there was a spell in the second half where I think George Saville and Billy Mitchell flew into tackles. Absolutely,
3 tackles on a spin.
Yeah, Mitchell's was, you know, on another day he'd have caught the guy and probably been sent off, but it really lifted the crowd and they got behind them, and for 20 minutes it was like the Millwall of old. There was a bit of atmosphere, there was sustained pressure, there was, you know, chances, but couldn't put the ball in the back of the net.
Yeah. I mean, that's we're going to go on to that in a bit more detail and say it's a common theme at the minute, but we didn't start well, and I think when we don't start well, we generally then struggle to get back into it too much. And I was not surprised by the amount of pressure we had in the second half, because obviously we had to. We had to obviously try and get something from the game. But we started so slowly. It was just, I was surprised. I thought we'd fly out the traps live on Sky. Generally, Birmingham's a pretty lively game. I just thought it'd be really aggressive from the outset, and we kind of just let them get into it, and we let them get into a bit of a rhythm. And I mean, their wingers seemed to cause us problems all night until Kadra went off, and obviously I'm assuming was either not fit or a little bit of a knock or an injury, but. We just let them get into it, and they just seemed to find a rhythm really quick. Obviously, I mean, we might as well go on to the goal. And again, there's been so many different viewpoints on whose fault it was. What was your view on that being at the ground and What did you initially think on the goal?
I mean, some people are not allowed to have opinions on certain players. It appears if you're a Millwall
Maybe we'll come
fan,
on to that in a sec as well, because there's been a lot of noise on Twitter around that.
and I should really make it clear that Danny McNamara probably has a little or had a little bit of credit in the bank because he has had a good season. 7 out of 10, a little bit, not maybe to the level of Murray Wallace of last year, but solid. You know what you're going to get. Reliable at the back, does a job, plays for the badge, the usual. But in the last month or so, he has tailed off. And I don't care what anybody says, and I don't care if he's a Millwall boy and you need to cut him slack. You don't. He almost cost us against Preston with letting them get back into the game on Saturday, trying to shield the ball out when it was never going out. Against Huddersfield, it was his pass down the line when he could have just hoofed it out, knocked it out for a throw-in that led to Huddersfield scoring, and obviously went on to lose that game. And yesterday, the decision, someone made a really good point on the space. If you're going to fly into that tackle, fine. But if you don't win the ball, bring the guy down, snap him, take the card. But he didn't do either. He let him go and he didn't bring him down. Then I think we did get unlucky. I think Cooper did really well to push the guy towards the byline. He defended it quite well.
A lot of people said Swansea are beating Preston, by the way. They've just scored, which is nice. Right. A lot of people said that about Cooper. He shouldn't have dived in. I actually don't think he did. I think he thought Djukovic was going to shoot at the point of when he lunged or slid in, whatever you want to call it. But I don't think he did kind of try and make a slide tackle there. I think he's gone to try and block it because I think he thought that's when Djukovic would shoot, which would have been the sensible thing, right? Because he'd had a much better angle. So,
as I say, I thought that was the right decision.
Yeah,
him and Long covered the shot. That's what they did, and it forced Djukovic wide. So I don't have an issue with Cooper making that decision at all.
No, I'm the same. And then again, the George Long thing, I'm seeing more and more regularly now. I'm a massive fan of Long's. I really like him, and more and more regularly now we're seeing people pointing the finger at him, and maybe rightly so. Maybe he's not been as good as Bart was over such a prolonged period of time. But there's a lot of people pointing fingers at him. Again, this is just my opinion. I don't think he was at all to blame for that last night. Djukovic is again spawned a shot into the ground, which has bobbled it between Long's arm and his head. If he catches it clean, it would hit Long on the arm and it would have gone out for a corner. So Long's not accounting for him to have a scruffy connection there, right? And again, I reckon, I said it last night a couple of times, if Djukovic takes a shot from that angle, where in that position that Long is in, I think 99 times out of 100, that doesn't go in the back of the net. So to point a finger at Long, I think is very harsh. I will go back to your point on Danny Mack. I think his form's definitely tailed off. We'll go on to the final third end product about the whole team in a minute, but I think he had a lot of credit in the bank for his defensive work. And I think that's now, he's made a few mistakes, right? And when you're so good defensively, as we keep saying Danny Mack is, you can kind of cover up what he lacks maybe going forward. But when he starts making mistakes like he has been, then it's hard to defend him, right? And it's an interesting one. Again, maybe we'll talk about it later, but the lack of squad depth, maybe he's not being pushed enough with someone being there waiting in the wings to come in and take his place. But yeah, for me, I think it was just one of those goals, as we said. I think Danny Mack's got to take him down. If he doesn't win that first one, he's just got to take the foul. So on the edge of our half, there's no danger then. He cannot let the guy turn and run at us for 20 yards and make that pass like he did.
I think on the subject of Long, what I think is unfortunate with George Long is there's a lot made about his distribution. And his distribution is obviously better than Bart's. We all know that. It has been better than Bart's. But over the last couple of weeks, it's not quite been that good. the level that it was. I think that the big one was against Sheffield United at home. He come out, claimed the ball, quickly got rid of it, distributed it to Burke. Burke ran up the other end and played it through to Bradshaw. We score. There's a couple of times where Long kicks it long and Bradshaw gets something on the end of it, or a corner or a shot or something happened. We went for a spell of that. And when you lose that side of things with Long, combined with the fact that it was a bit of a, I mean, look, we were unlucky. Jukovic is never going to, as you said, never going to score from that angle again. It's not going to happen. But because it does, and it's Long in goal, and the distribution isn't working, I think he's always going to get that. He's always going to get battered with, bring in Bart. I think George Long is unlucky that he's Millwall's goalkeeper at a time where he's displaced Bart. If it had been anybody else in the squad, you wouldn't get any of this at all. But because it's Bart, people seem to have a little bit of a affinity to him, and he won Player of the Season.
Yeah.
So, look, I think there's definitely there's a good goalkeeper in George Long. I've said it before, and I'll stand by it. There needs to be work done from distance. That still needs to be addressed. But the goal last night isn't. I don't think you can put the blame onto George Long. I think he's just on the receiving end of a lot of abuse because his competition is Bart.
Yeah, and I think, again, we've touched upon it on a previous show. I think it might have been the whole one. I do genuinely think that. I think if Bart wasn't at the club, I don't think he'd get half the amount of stick that he does get. It's just unfortunate for him that Bart is at the club. I still don't think, certainly at this stage of the season, that we need to be or should be changing it. I just don't think we can. Bart's been out of the side now for 75% of the year, the season. I think that's too big a risk to. We know he's a good keeper, but I still think that's a big risk. I know he's an experienced keeper, but as I say, I just people are calling for that, and I can't see
it's
that
too
happening.
late. It's too late unless there's an injury, or a suspension. Then I think it's too late to make that change. I do think that there was an argument to change it, perhaps about 6 or 7 games ago. There was a couple of goals that were conceded that would have given Rowett the opportunity to do it, because no one would have said, "Oh, it's harsh."
Yeah,
there was a chance, and he didn't. And then Long, as I say, I know the goal against one of the goals against Sheffield United was poor from the free kick, but the saves that he made in that game probably earned him a lot of credit, and that kept him in the team. It's too late to change your goalkeeper. No team changes their goalkeeper with 3 games to go. No, just don't do it.
No, totally agree. And then generally, we've spoken about the goal. I'm trying to think of other chances that we had in the first half, but the only ones I can remember, we had Coops' header from the corner. We had Fleming's
header from the corner as well, that hit his shoulder.
Oh, I mean, yeah, you might not have seen that because obviously you were down the other end, but on telly, in live time, it looked like he just mistimed it, but he'd mistimed it so badly that he didn't actually connect with it and it hit him on the shoulder. Coops' one, I think, is a really good chance for him.
Yeah.
I think he got up early. Again, I think Sam's got to do better with his one, 100%, because he hasn't made a decent connection. I think another game, Coops hits the target maybe, and he might score. But again, outside of that, in the first half, so I'm trying to think. Fleming had a free kick, didn't he? Which was straight down. Was it Ruddy's throat?
It was going over. It's going over as well.
And then did Vogie have a couple of long range efforts as well? So I mean, first half we didn't really create too much, so it couldn't have got any worse, could it? Really?
No, the general feel though, I thought, was that we got a few free kicks and had a lot of throws into the box, so we kept putting the ball into the box. And it was almost as if, it's going to happen soon. But we never quite, apart from Cooper's header, we never quite really made advantage of actually of putting the ball in the box. I know it sounds stupid, but you're hoping for a little bit of a melee or it to drop to someone and they whack it or something. But it went in at half time a little bit disappointed. But at the same time, I think there was still a sense of there was an opportunity. There was still an opportunity there. There was still an opportunity there, even going behind. You had enough time to I'm sure we'll come on to this, to change it and to perhaps get something from the game.
QPR are beating Norwich.
Okay.
I don't know how I feel about
Um,
that.
that any team around us that are
Yeah, very true. To be fair, I'd rather QPR stay up as well because it gives us at least well, it doesn't matter for me, but a bit of a southern game. Watford have just scored against Cardiff.
That's fine. That's all right.
So yeah, I kind of agree, but maybe again we'll talk about that now. Do you think there's a bit of Rowett certainly spoke about it in his post-match comments, and he said it's time for the players now to step up. Do you think there was an element of that in the first half, just off the back of what you just said there, of us expecting it to we just thought that it's going to happen at some point, and it was no kind of ownership from anyone to go and force it, perhaps?
A little bit. I think I'll tell you what I thought in the first half yesterday, and people might not agree with this, but we really missed George Honeyman in the first half yesterday. Someone that's a little bit bright, a little bit. I know he starts on the right, but he drifts in and he creates those little 1-2s and pockets in and around the sort of 30 yards from goal. And someone like that, you just needed someone to pick the game, scruff of the neck, the old saying, and just try and get involved. Fleming had a poor game, and he's the one that you'd be looking for to try and to make that spark. And when that didn't happen, you're just waiting for someone. Burke tried. He tried to take his full back on, but I saw people say, he had a good game. He had a better game. The good game was Hull. He had a better game than
I'm certainly in
others.
this camp with Burke. The thing is with Burke is I'm used to him just doing next to nothing. So even with him doing a little bit last night, I was one that said, yeah, he had a good game again. But I'm just now of the opinion that for such a long period of time, he's done nothing. So anything's better than that, right? And maybe you're right. Because again, my dad said it last night. There was any point with Burke. It's a bit of a weird one because at no point do I ever feel like the ball's under control, or he's got any composure, or he's going to find that pass, or he's going to hit the target. But yet, I feel like he's dangerous, and he's probably going to be in our best 11, which is a bit of a weird thing to say because
it's pace. It's his pace that does that.
It is, but as I say, probably part of that as well is why I never feel like the ball's under control with him. Like one other chance I actually just thought of was the cut back. Malone played a great pass in behind, and he managed to get in down the left hand side and cut it back to Fleming. Again, that just little bit of composure there. The ball back to Fleming was just half a yard out of Fleming's reach, so he could have a first-time shot or control it quickly and get a shot off. And I say we're going to probably talk about it in a bit more detail, but that lack of composure, probably ability to some aspects as well in the final third, is really killing us at the minute.
Lack of ability, I think, is the big one. I think, Saville and Mitchell, as good as they are, they don't offer you goals. They don't offer you any goals. They don't. Saville is a surprise because I think he could, because he has done before, but he's obviously playing in a different role.
He's changed his game now, right?
Yeah.
That's not his game.
Oh, Danny McNamara doesn't offer you goals. Hutchinson and Cooper are not scoring. I know Cooper had a good opportunity, but he didn't score. So you're reliant on really Fleming, Malone, who does get forward, but again, his delivery is better than maybe our other fullbacks, but he's still a little bit of a loose cannon. I mean, why he tried a Rabona cross was just absolutely ridiculous. There's just no need for it, but that's another issue. Bradshaw and the wingers, and we know that Foggy doesn't really get involved. Burke does have his pace, but does he really? He doesn't put a foot in. So you if there's a 50-50 and you think if he wins it, he's away, you don't ever think he is going to win it because he doesn't put his foot in to create that chance. So the lack of goals, the lack of creativity is hurting us. And it's almost as if the players are looking at, and I don't want to think it, but Rowett keeps saying, and the pundits keep saying, if you keep Bradshaw and Fleming quiet, you keep Millwall quiet. And it's almost as if the players are looking at them going, well, come on then, do something for us. We need you. And it's like, they're not going to do it every time. Because if they were doing it every time, they'd be on 30 goals and you'd have all reports already of clubs in the Premier League coming in for them straight away. Yeah. So it's impossible for them to do it every time. Someone needs to take some responsibility, and we just don't have that. I will say, second half, Callum Stiles looked all right in that, trying to make something happen, a little bit of movement, a little bit of positivity. The shot that led to Bradshaw's chance, which Bradshaw should score, in my opinion, inside the 6-yard box. But we need someone to, take the game by the scruff of the neck and make something happen. And we just don't have anyone that wants to do that or can do that.
I mean, we've spoken about the next point probably a lot there, but let's just finish on the second half yesterday, because as I said earlier, we had to come out of the blocks in the second half, that we had no choice, and we certainly did that. We touched upon it. We made those 3 quick tackles that certainly seemed to get the crowd going. That led into a 20 minutes of kind of sustained pressure. Rowett alluded to it again in his post-match interview, and he mentioned the amount of good kind of spaces and areas that we got into. And again, it just ties back to my opinion on the game against what other people have said. And we really did. We got in some really good positions for a Millwall side that I've seen so many games that we just haven't done that. And obviously we touched on a couple of chances there, but we fashioned out a couple. And the first one that Bradshaw weirdly tried to head, I don't know why he went with a header. How George Saville hasn't got a toe on the scramble after that is just unbelievable. And then, as you said, Stiles come on, looked bright, looked lively, certainly an interesting role seeing him playing that kind of deep midfield position. Had the effort. Again, I think, I keep saying the same saying, but another 100 times, probably Bradshaw scores 99 of those and Etheridge doesn't get an arm or whatever it hit on it. And we go 1-1 and we probably go on and win the game. But we certainly played better in the second half. And again, I know that's not we don't need to do that at the minute. We need to grind out results. But we got in a lot of good positions and we did create good opportunities. But again, as we just spoke about, it's just that final ball all the time, that bit of composure, a bit of quality. We just really seem to lack it. The amount of times that Danny Mack got in down that right-hand side in really good crossing positions for any fullback.
Doesn't beat the first man.
Doesn't beat the first man, or the ball's loopy with no pace on, or just misdirected. It was just, I feel like we're giving Danny Mack a hard time, but it was, again, we got into some good positions. Again, with general thoughts on the second half?
Huff and puff, really. There was a lot of effort. There was a lot, and when I say huff and puff, I don't mean that derogatory, because they did the effort can't. But you cannot say the Millwall players don't have the effort and the desire, in my opinion, because they are giving us everything. They are working hard. They are trying to be better, but they just lack something. We all know that there's the quality gap between perhaps a Fleming and the rest of the squad, or Billy Mitchell and other players and people like that. But there's only so many times that you can say we got into good spaces. You've got to score. And I thought Everington come on, and I thought he had quite a good second half, to be honest with you. He claimed a lot. He caught pretty much everything. Some good saves. But
I've got the match report up here, Stephen, just on flash scores, whilst I've got the other scores up, and he got man the match. So.
Yeah, I thought, again, it was like the whole keeper. He had a very good game, and you can't really argue with that sometimes. But to go back to your point on the good crossing positions and things like that, that's where your dare I say it, your Jed Wallace or your Archer at Middlesbrough, or your Sarah at Norwich, those players find their teammate to have a really good effort on goal, and we're not really doing that. The one chance, I know Bradshaw had a very good chance, but the one was Fleming's header. Fleming's he's got to score. He has just got to score. And someone made a comment about Tim Cahill. If that was Tim Cahill on the end of that, he buries it. And I know you can't keep talking about old players, but Fleming is the star
it's
man.
True, right?
He's got to score. He's just got to score, and he didn't. And I don't want to give the players too much of a hard time, because they didn't play badly yesterday. It wasn't one of those performances where you can go, it just isn't good enough where it really counts. And where it really counts is in that final third.
Again, I don't want to come across like I'm giving Fleming a hard time, so I've brought it up a couple of times now, and I mentioned it on the Spaces last night. And there's always a lot of talk about, it goes over his head, it misses him out, he doesn't get on the ball enough. We had so much of the ball last night, and we had so much of the ball in and around their box. I can't think of a single time where he made that pass into someone, or down even out to Danny Mack, or out to Malone, into Bradshaw's feet. If he's our star man, like he clearly has been this season, he has to influence that game more for me. And that's just my opinion. We're all saying how good he is, and he's going to go get a big move to the Premier League, and he probably will do. But there'll be a lot of scouts, and I'm sure Premier League managers, etc., that would look at that and go, well, he didn't touch the ball in the second half. He had that great chance, as we just said, a long-range effort in the first half. But in a game that we had a lot of the ball, and a lot of the ball in the final third, where we needed to find a killer pass,
it's lacking.
It was lacking, yeah. And he didn't seem to get on the ball. And again, I think he might have mentioned on the Space last night, and they said that he was potentially marked out the game. And I was again trying to think, was he man marked? I didn't.
No, I don't think so.
Like he was. So what's your thought?
Sorry, the other thing I just wanted to touch on that's really, really something that really bothers me, and it's only a little thing, but in the last 10 minutes, I know teams are trying to manage the game, and Birmingham did a very, very good job of it, but we fell to pieces. Cooper and Hutchinson were just lumping it here, there, and everywhere. Long distribution went out the window. We had no structure whatsoever. I'm going to say something that's absolutely you might. I'm feeling absolutely fine, by the way, before you question this. But the answer yesterday was to bring on George Evans, right? It was. Hear me out. It was to bring on George Evans, so you knew that we were going to have a lot of the ball at the back because they were just going to boot it, and Long was passing it to Cooper and Hutchinson. It was just going backwards and forwards. You needed someone that could pick a pass. That was the time you had. I think we had an extra sub left. He brought on Watmore, SA,
yeah, we brought on
Styles. He had the extra sub left. For the last 10 minutes, the two players that touched the ball the most from a Millwall perspective was Cooper and Hutchinson, because they just kept passing it to each other. They didn't know what to do with it. Yeah. That was the time to bring him on for someone that could play a pass. I don't like George Evans. I'm not. He's going to go at the end of the season. We're probably never going to see him again. But in that scenario, that's when you needed him on, because they took off Saville. They lost all their structure, and they didn't have anybody that could pick a pass from deep. It just all went out the window. And the professionalism, like, I get that Birmingham went down to the corner, but how many times were we kicking it out for a throw-in and just letting them rinse the time, go down, get a drink, everything. We let them manage the game, and it was so poor from our point of view. It really was, at a time where you're really pushing for a goal.
Do you think we just put so much into that 25 minutes, half an hour previous, because the 80th minute mark came and it was almost like the game was dead at that point? As you said, they slowed it up even more. Our quality lessened, if that was even possible. As you said, that the long balls got more misdirected, and it just seemed all that pressure that we built up was just allowed to go. And that was probably the way that Birmingham managed the game, and the time wasting, etc. But that, as Rowett said, that's not on us, right? That's a Birmingham issue. We need to manage that end period of the game better. But do you think we just put so much into that kind of previous half an hour? Because we did. It was a bombardment, right? They couldn't get out of their box, let alone their half. Did we just put so much into that and we just ran out of steam at that point?
Possibly, but then that's when you've got a fifth sub. You've got Shackleton on the bench.
I was about to say, I'm still scratching my head with that one, with the Shackleton thing not coming on.
No, you've got. I mean, it was Bennett, SA, Watmore, and Styles. So they did have another sub. Look, we all know that, it's Evans and Shackleton. They're not exactly going to be, rip-roaring forwards that are going to, take anybody on. But you could clearly see that there was a problem, that, we didn't manage the game properly. And even to the point, and I know you can't just go all gung-ho, but you could have put Jake Cooper up front. If you're going to just smash it in the last 10 minutes, why not? What you got to lose? There's no difference. I know they're going to talk about goal difference, and we'll probably come on to that because it is very tight. But you cannot rely on goal difference. You need points. Losing 1-0 or 2-0 wouldn't have made any difference. But you put Jake Cooper up front, at least you've got someone to aim to, someone to hit.
Well, we've done that. Well, we did it at Hull. I'm sure we've done it other games this season. But at that point, then we talk about just Long's distribution. We did it at Hull, but then we didn't seem to hit Cooper. We did it in the last, I think it might have been the last 5 minutes, certainly from added on time last night. He was up top. Don't think one ball went near him. It all went down Mason Bennett's throat, who's 4'0". And it's just, as you say, it probably leads into our next point quite nicely. But obviously, it was a very disappointing result last night. I'm more downbeat after last night than I was at Hull, maybe because time's just running out now. But there's been a lot of, I won't say hysteria on social media, but it certainly seems like it. It wasn't that bad a result that people are making it out. Sorry, it wasn't that bad a performance that people are making out to be. And as I keep saying, if we play that game again, we don't create, and I know you made a point of it last night, but 2.5 on the XG. I know XG doesn't win you points, but if we have that many chances again, if we have it Saturday and against Blackpool, I would be amazed if we don't win. It's just my opinion. But anyway, let's move on from Birmingham.
Just one, the last point I would say on that, the last point before we go on, Paul Cheery on Twitter.
That was my next point, so well done.
Oh, okay. Read your mind. Posted a tweet. I'm sure we'll be able to share it on the pod account if it already hasn't been. I think we've had 95 shots in the last 6 games. So that's Huddersfield, Luton, West Brom, Preston, Hull, and Birmingham.
Yeah.
So they're the 6. We've had 95 shots, 31 on target. 1 in 3 on target is okay. I don't think it's too bad, but we've scored 2 goals. So we have scored 2 goals from 95 shots. If that isn't the most damning statement, stat, however you want to word it, at a time where we desperately need the points more than ever, 2 goals from 95 shots. That's not a team that's a top 6 contender stats. It's really not.
No, I mean, we're moving on to it now, and just the general lack of firepower, right? And I think that just perfectly sums it up. That stat.
There's no again, other stats that fly about. Bradshaw's got 15, Fleming's got 14. Do you know who our next top goal scorer is?
Charlie Creswell.
And now he's injured, and he's a centre half, and he's on loan.
Yeah, the list goes on, right?
So it's embarrassing, and I even think in the top 5, Afobe's in there. I'm pretty sure in the top 5 goal scorer. He left in December.
Yeah,
it's just not good enough. And I'm sure there'll be plenty of debates on this. And I said this on a space or on a show a couple of weeks ago. The lack of transfer business in January is a subject that had been swept under the carpet because we were going really, really well. We were looking okay for the top 6 and things were going quite well. Now it's started to get a little bit shaky and things are starting to go wrong and we're not scoring goals. Those questions have come straight back to the surface, and Alex Aldridge and Steve Kavanagh and Gary Rowett and whoever else, the other scouts, they are faced with these questions now, which they shouldn't have to answer with 3 games to go. They shouldn't be answering these questions, but they have to. Because the question has to be asked, what the hell were they doing in January, letting 2 strikers go? I know Alafi hasn't really set the world alight at Stockport in League 2. I get that. But he's still another centre forward. They let 2 strikers go. They probably got unlucky with a lad from Ireland, but he was never going to come in and be a goal scorer. That was never going to... That's one for the future.
Yeah.
So their big plan was to go with 1 proper striker for 46 games.
Yeah.
How does that work?
Well, yeah, again, probably leads on nicely. But let's just talk about what we have got at the minute, and just generally our lack of quality across the pitch, lack of composure. We've said it a couple of times already. It's certainly been highlighted in more games, and in more games where we've had more of the ball, more opportunities, more probably chances created. Cardiff have just equalised against Watford. Our final ball, our end product, I think collectively as a team, and a team in the top 6, is nothing short of bad. I'm just gonna. That's being quite polite. I think I mentioned Burke. I never feel like he's never gonna find that killer pass. The ball never seems to be under control. He's not gonna score even 5 goals. Just we bought him in January, right? It's not probably beyond belief for a winger to score 5 goals. I didn't expect him to do that. What more? Again, that's probably a subject on his own. I'm struggling with him.
Mm-hmm.
Fleming's gone off the boil. Bradders, we've said it a million times. To rely on just him being our sole striker for the rest of the season after January was always going to be tough. I think I've said it a few times. He's a streaky centre forward anyway. He doesn't score for 5 games, then will score in 5 games. At this stage of the season, that's not good enough. But generally, our final end product is bad. Why is that?
I'm going to just ask you, just before I answer that, but it leads on quite nicely. If I said to you, give me our best 11, everyone's fit, the whole team, the whole squad is fit. So I know we haven't got that at the moment. Who's your 11? Who's our best 11, in your opinion?
I don't think I changed the back 5. I actually think Malone should be in there just purely on. I know Murray Wallace has been brilliant for us, and I don't like to knock him at all, but I think Malone certainly going forward gives us. Well, actually, maybe I'd start Styles in there, because again, I spoke to my dad about this, and I think if we want to move on as a team, a footballing team, we need to move away from the centre half who's become a left back, and we need to start getting a bit more of a wing back, a modern wing back in there. And Styles is certainly that sort of player. So maybe I'd play Styles there, and in the back 5, I'd certainly look. I like Long, as I keep saying, so I'd have him. I'd probably play, Danny Mack. I think Creswell would be in there now, I think, over Hutch, and I'd have Coops and Styles. I think the midfield 3 is answers for itself. Doesn't need talking about, but Sav, Mitchell, and Fleming. I mean, Bradder's obviously up top, and then your 2 wingers, right?
This is where, and this is what leads me on to when you talk about creativity. Who are our best 2 wingers? Well,
I think if poor old Mason Bennett could be fit, I think he would certainly be my starter. And then, it's a really tough one, wide right, because I've called for Honeyman not to play there, but I'd argue he's probably better than anyone else we've got. He's not a wide right player. Vogie, I've been defensive of him and said he gets a bit of a hard time. Watching him last night, I said to my dad, was like watching a school kid who had no idea what he was doing. In the first half, he was just running around, had no clue. And maybe now I'm probably starting to see what most of the fans have been seeing for the most of this season. But look, that wide right position could be one of 4, right? And that's probably what you're going to say.
And that is exactly why we have problems creativity, because you've picked a player who we can't keep fit over any of the players that have been regularly available since January.
Yeah,
and there lies the problem, because they're not. You could honestly put their names in a hat and pick 2 of them out every week and just go, well, you have a go. You have a go. I'm not going to include Essay in that. I'm not going to include him in that. I can understand where people are coming from and saying he's a boy, you can't put all your hopes on him. I understand that. But when no one else is doing anything, what have you got to lose? I think there's a case in point that doesn't just apply to him. Some of our under-21s have got quite a few goals for the under-21s this year. We're not scoring any goals. What's the worst that can happen? Realistically, what is the worst that can happen? We're not scoring. We're losing one game 1-0. You can't get any worse than that. So
absolutely.
that answers how you answered that question is exactly what I hoped for, and we didn't pre-plan that for any of the listeners at home.
We didn't.
It's purely nobody knows who to play because none of them are doing anything in an attacking position. And the one that's as sure that you said would be picked every week can only play once every 2 weeks. So
yeah, absolutely.
It's
a couple of score updates, mate. Swansea 2-0 and Cardiff now 2-1 up. So results are going our way at the minute.
Ben, you're giving me false hope. You're giving all the no. By the time this goes out, everyone will know what the scores are. But
absolutely.
But yeah, look, it's a problem. January, come the end of the season, I'm really looking forward. I know it sounds really stupid. I'm really looking forward to us doing a proper review of the season and really getting into it. Can't do it now because you don't really know what's going to happen still. But really, either way, whatever happens, because January is going to be the I don't want to say it's going to be the legacy of Gary Rowett, because I don't, and again, it's not just Rowett that works on getting players in. There are, it's scouts, it's agents, it's, all of these recruitment teams and stuff like that. But this January is going to be the real time where people are going to go, you blew it. If we don't make the top 6, that's going to be the resounding, I think, what's the word I'm looking for? That's, yeah.
Opinion. Yeah, no, I totally agree. And I think, look, we probably could do a January piece as its own 5-hour segment, I would have thought. But yeah, I totally agree. I think just to go into and going back to my team, actually, just whilst I'm on that and thinking about it, the reason why I didn't put Esse wide right is because start of the year, he was in and around the squad, right? He wasn't even guaranteed to be in.
It wasn't even. It was a Christmas, I think, wasn't it? So
exactly. So he hasn't been in the squad all year. I didn't want to say that. There's gonna be a load of people going, why has he not said Esse playing wide right? I probably would pick him now. I wouldn't say he's in my. This is gonna sound weird. He probably wouldn't be my best team, but I'd probably pick him now because where we're at and what we need. But yeah, exactly that. I just don't think. I think we've got 4 or 5 players that are ultimately too similar, and they're ultimately. I don't want to say not good enough, because if we get in the top 6, this conversation is going to be irrelevant, right? But I said it on Spaces last night. We took Watmore off Sunderland's hands. I can't believe we didn't take him, certainly to Watmore's opinion, to be more of a player than he has been a part. He wouldn't leave Sunderland. I'm probably, this is a total guess, assuming he was on more money at Sunderland than he will be on at us. I can't believe he's taken, unless again maybe they wanted to get him off the wage budget, but I can't believe he's come to us with the promise of being the same amount of game time. I don't believe that. Burke, we know all about. I don't think he did enough in his first loan spell with us to warrant us getting him back. Blackburn have just scored. I just think we got too many if but maybe players, as we just said, in too many positions.
Also, I am going to do it. I think we got Duncan Watmore from Middlesbrough, not Sunderland.
Sorry, we did.
Because I was thinking about it. I was going, was it Sunderland? I think that's where he started, wasn't it? But it was
same point, right?
Yeah. No, I get what you're saying.
He'd be on more money at Middlesbrough. He was an impact sub. I know he got injured again and he fell out of the favour with Carrick. But would he have come to us of the promise of getting same game time? I just don't see that. He might as well stay at Middlesbrough.
I just think with it, it's so strange how it was Nesbitt. Every day we were waiting for an update. Is he signed? What's going on? This, that, and the other. Then it was, oh no, that's not happening. Then the next day, oh, we've lined up Oliver Burke. Then about 2 hours later, oh, we've signed up Duncan Watmore. And you just look at that and you go, were they deals that perhaps at the start of the window they'd gone?
No, I don't. I genuinely, I know what you're going to say, and just no. I can't believe they were.
Or were they deals that they had on the back burn?
Yeah,
like they've probably contacted Burke because someone would have been in contact with him because he was with us last year, going, might be an opportunity to come back. Would you be interested? Kind of thing. And it's kind of like, we'll see what's happened. And then it got to the last couple of days of the window and they were both signed. So, look, again, we can do a lot on January. We really, really can. But it's not something that can just be swept under the carpet. It has to, again, we could be having this conversation. This could go out, and then in 2 weeks' time, it won't matter because we could still make the top 6. So it does become an irrelevant argument. But
well, look, let's change it and not be too doomy and gloomy. Because we are talking like we haven't made the top 6 and it's not happening. We still have an opportunity to do it. And that probably leads us into tonight's games. I know I've been giving some score updates, but people know the result when they listen to this back tomorrow. Blackburn obviously got Coventry at the minute. QPR playing Norwich. Swansea are playing Preston. Could probably put Watford and Cardiff in there as a game that's relevant to us.
I think so. For now. Obviously, maybe tomorrow definitely won't be worried about Watford. But look, tonight's games and the team's games in hand. I think for us, there's been a lot made about the teams we're playing, and we'd rather be playing the teams top of the leagues, we perform better, etc., etc. I'm just going to put a line through that, and I would say absolutely everyone in the position that we're in would switch their fixtures around and want to have ours over theirs. They've all got to play each other. So. Case in point tonight, Blackburn have got Coventry. They're going to drop points, right? So the team's games in hand as well. We spoke about last night. I think you mentioned them, Steve. Yeah. So you've got
West Brom have got Sheffield United, have they?
Yep. And Blackburn play Burnley. Now, there's a lot of people on Twitter again today and last night were saying, they've both been promoted. The Sheffield United West Brom one, maybe, because Sheffield United are going to finish second. We all know that. Everybody knows that. So they're just they might coast. And also, I think if I'm right, Sheffield United playing the FA Cup this weekend in the semi-final, and they could be on a massive come down from that. So you don't know with what's going to happen with them. But Blackburn, people are saying that Burnley, they're going to be on the beach. They are rivals. If Burnley can bugger up Blackburn's opportunity to make it into the top 6, they're going to do it, or they're going to try and do it anyway. Yeah. So I think the games in hand, I've always been an advocate of I'd rather have the points on the board, and I would rather have the points on the board, but I think people have to be realistic that whilst there's teams playing tonight and there are a few results going in our favour, what we really need is if Blackburn are in the top 6 after 45 games, as long as we are 2 points or less behind them, I'll at least be happy going into that last game. It's in our hands, because if it's not in your hands, it's horrible, because you could go and win 6-0 and it don't make a blind bit of difference. Stay within Blackburn's reach, keep them within your grasp, and anything can happen.
Yeah, totally agree, mate. So, and just on that, I've said for a while, I think we will go into that game at the end of the season needing exactly that. I think we'll need something. Be nice if Coventry could get an equaliser this evening. As it stands, with Blackburn obviously being 1-0 up. Be nice if they can equalise. And as you say, look,
sorry to interrupt you there, but Blackburn's next game is Preston on I think it's on Saturday.
That's a bit of a derby game as well, right?
And if Preston are losing this evening, I think they're still behind.
Swansea are 3-0 up. You've just
there you go. There you go. So Preston, if they really want to, again, keep aspiration, because they're still going to, whatever happens tonight, they're still going to be within 3 points of someone, or whatever it is, 2 points. So again,
I mean, exactly that, mate. They're 3-0 down. They're now down into 10th, and as it stands, they're 3 points behind us, who are sitting in 6th.
And I mean, the good thing about I know it's not over yet, but their goal difference is obviously taking a bit of a pounding, so that's always a good thing as well.
I think they were in minus anyway because of their slow start. I think they're in minus. So, but it's only going to be worse, right? It's only going to be worse.
So teams have got to play each other. Steve Morrison had it bang on Sky. he said that the question was posed about teams, maybe sitting back, and he turned around and went, Wigan cannot afford to sit back. They can't afford to sit back against us because they've got to try and save their championship lives. And whereas when the teams like, for example, you've got a Blackburn v Preston, neither of them teams really want to make a mistake because it really could stop them making it into the top six. So I think I do agree with what you said at the start of this little piece, that I would rather have our fixtures and say to Wigan, you've been at the bottom of the league all year. Okay, we typically struggle against teams at the bottom of the league. You've got to win. Come at us and we'll see how good you are because we'll try and pick you off on the counter. And I think that will suit us on Saturday.
Yeah. Anyone would think that you'd seen the agenda for tonight's show, mate. Let's go into Wigan on Saturday. You summarised it probably perfectly there, mate. But yeah, look, maybe a bit of a blessing in disguise that they did win last night. And I initially thought, well, it makes it a bit more difficult now. But as you say, it's probably a bit of a positive because they have to win. Like for them to have any hope in hell of staying up, we know it's going to be a long shot. We know they've got to win their 3 games and hope for other results. But as it stands, they still can stay in the league. So they have to win Saturday. I'm actually now looking at it and thinking of it as a bit of a positive because, as you said, they've got to come at us now. Hopefully, it leads to a bit of an open game. What do you think?
I think initially, again, I think a lot of supporters were going, oh, bloody hell, Wigan won. They're going to have their tails up, blah, blah, blah. But I think you're right. The fact that they do have to win, they can't just sit at home for a point. They've got to win the game, which says to me that they're either going to go gung-ho, which is going to play into our hands, or they're going to be really nervy on the ball. And they're obviously at the bottom of the league for a reason. It happens at this time of year. Teams at the bottom of the league are there because they are the worst teams in the division. That's just how it is. So if they're going to be nervy on the ball, you might be able to pick them off. And if they are going to come at us, if Oliver Burke is ever going to score a goal in a game of football, it is going to be Saturday because they're going to attack us, and they're going to have to use his pace. They're going to have to use, or someone who we haven't mentioned, Tyler Bury, if he's floating around, because again, I know I haven't been Tyler Bury's biggest fan, but if the other boys aren't doing it, then what have you got to lose? Really, realistically, what have you got? I think people would have him in the squad over Vogelsammer. So
I've actually just scratched my head because that's how Bury makes me feel.
And I agree.
Look,
I agree.
I'm not, as you said, I'm not Bury's biggest fan, but just from looking at it from an outsider's point of view, Rowett clearly sees more from him day-to-day basis that makes me feel he can't be trusted or doesn't like something, right? Because I know he's been injured, but he's been playing in the under-21s, right, recently?
He has.
So clearly,
people didn't pick up on this. Yesterday morning, he posted a video that he was in the gym. So maybe he's not fit. Maybe he's been told he's got to do some gym work. I don't know. I don't know, but sorry, go on.
No. I was just going to say, yeah, we're just going back to your Burke piece. Yeah, I think it sets up perfectly for him if it's going to be an open game. Maybe eventually he will hit the back of the net, but pigs might also fly.
I can tell you're really looking forward to being there on Saturday, aren't you?
No, do you know what? I actually really am. And I've said it in the group a couple of times. I said it to you earlier, mate, as well. I think we'll win Saturday. I do think we'll win. I'm still on obviously a bit of a downer after last night, but my positive mindset's still there. I don't know where this has come from. I know you've been digging me out about it. I do think we'll win Saturday just because, as I just said, I think now the fact that Wigan have to win is going to suit us. It's going to help us.
Yeah.
They can't sit back. And I just think the way we're going to set up will suit for them to come on to us. And as you said, we have got enough pace at least, maybe not the quality, but we've got the pace at least to cause them some damage.
The only issue just on that, though, thinking about it, all the teams at the bottom of the league are winning tonight, aren't they? Cardiff are winning.
QPR are winning.
So, again, look, Wigan might think it's a no hope, but again, it plays into our hands. If teams pick up points tonight, Wigan, it adds to, they've got to win the game. They can't just sit there and go down. They can't time waste. That's the biggest thing that I think is going to come out of the game on Saturday. They cannot afford at 0-0 to be rolling around the floor because a point's not enough.
Yeah. Well, so yeah, as I said at the beginning of this piece, right, they have to win their 3 games and then hope for other results. The results, as they stand tonight, have moved Huddersfield. They're 7 points clear of them, level games played. Sorry. So, as you said, it is a long shot, but I think it just helps us. It's another thing pointing in our direction. They can't sit in. They're not on holiday. It's not a free hit for them. They have to win. If they want to remain in the Championship, they have to win. I think that's just going to suit us. Now, going into that game, what would again, there's so many voices and opinions going around saying every single one of us is obviously right, entitled to an opinion. What would you do Saturday, Stephen? What would your team be?
I would go. I'd long. I'm going to go from left to right because it gives me time to think about what I'm going to do at right back.
Can we? Are you sticking with the formation? Because again, that's something that's been spoken about, right? And I think we spoke about it on our. You're changing the formation. So I
am changing the formation.
See, that's an interesting one because I'm not saying you're right or wrong, just my opinion. I think it'd be a very, very brave man for Gary Rowett to change the formation now at this stage of the season.
Only slightly, though. And it's a real slight tactical thing. And you'll see where I'm going with it. And I've mentioned it a few times. I would go with Malone at left back. There is a case to play Styles, but I would go with Malone at left back. Cooper, Hutchinson. If it was me, I would be going with Shackleton. I would be going with Shackleton on Saturday. I would go the 2 boys in midfield, Saville and Mitchell. That doesn't change. The slight change, and again, I'm killing time because I'm just debating who I'm going to put out wide. The slight change I would make, rather than have us 4-2-3-1, I think Fleming needs to be closer to Bradshaw. So it's more 4-4-1-1. So Fleming's in the centre forward type role and Bradshaw's in the striker role. So it's not. Fleming is still in his probably preferred position, but rather than have him dropping back deeper, you should against the team that's bottom of the league. You don't need Fleming tracking back. You don't. And we both know that that's going to happen. We're going to be there on Saturday. We're going to have this conversation, and we're going to see Fleming tracking back. Yeah, probably. But he doesn't need to do that. He's got to stay closer to Bradshaw. Just on the knock, if they're going to knock it up to Bradshaw, Fleming needs to be closer to him to at least give him some support. So that's the change I would make to the formation. I would just say to Fleming, concentrate more on supporting Tom. I would probably go wide left. I would go Mason Bennett. I would start him on the left. As you know, and we've discussed it when you said it earlier, I'm a fan of Bennett. If you could keep him fit, he'd probably be quite a good Championship player. So when he is fit, I think you've got to get the best out or try and get the best out of him. On the right, I would love to say SA. I really would love to say SA. But on Saturday, I really, really think, and this is a head and heart situation, I'd love to say SA. But if it was me in the position, I would go with Burke again and say to him, look, they're going to come at us. This is your opportunity to really stamp some authority on your loan spell and give us a chance. Use the pace, get in behind and make something happen. Because as we've said, we're going to likely to come out. They're not going to sit rigid at the back. Their fullbacks might bomb forward a little bit. And if you catch them once, that's where you need real pace. And I think that's why Burke needs to play.
Next question. Do you think we'll change it? Or do you think we'll see the same starting 11?
I think he will change it. And I'm going to go against everything I've just said, how I would play it. I think I really got it in my head that he's going to pick SA. I really, really do. And if he doesn't, If he doesn't, I still think there'll be a change because I think Boggle-Sammer will drop out. I think he'll keep Burke. Burke's someone who I think he might be quite settled on him now from now until the end of the season. But I think Boggy's in danger of dropping out.
Yeah, I think exactly spot on, I think. I think Vogie's now not doing enough in games that we almost certainly need to win. Having someone in the side who's arguably there for his defensive work it's just not worthwhile now. And it's, in my opinion, Burke's strongest period of games that I've seen him have. And as we said earlier, that's not really based on a great deal because I don't think he's done enough in either loan spells, but I think it's his best period that he's had, or certainly got involved more than he has at any period of time. So yeah, totally agree. My team, I'm not changing Bart in for long. Again, I've seen so many people saying that. I just, as we said earlier, I don't think we can now at this stage of the season. I just don't think we will. I would also drop Danny Mack. Just give him a kick up the arse more than anything else. But the fact that we're not even bringing on Shackleton at the end of games, we did it against Hull. We didn't do it. Sorry, didn't do it against Hull. We didn't do it last night. Is there something else there that we're not seeing? Is he not fit? Is there something that Rowett's not liking in training? And we don't know, right? But the fact that he's not even coming at the end of the games means he's almost certainly not going to start. But I would start Shackleton, centre halves, as we'd expect. And I would say, because I put him in my best team earlier, I would play Styles if he's fit and just say to him, get forward as much as you can. Don't worry about what's going in behind you. And almost, you guys laughed at me last night, and I'd almost play him as that kind of inverted wing back, like kind of what Zinchenko does for Arsenal, right? Because he obviously played in that midfield position yesterday. I would just say to him, get on the ball as much as you can, influence it as far up the pitch as much as you can. So I'd start Styles, midfield two, Saville and Mitchell. I'm not changing formation again. I just don't think we can at this stage of the season. We need to at least say to ourselves, we're here because we've been doing something right. Whilst the period of games hasn't been the best, we're here because, as I said, we're doing something right over this period of games, and where we're here at this point in the season because of the formation change to 4-3-2-1 or 4-2-3-1. So, I'm keeping the formation the same. As I said, Sav and Mitchell, going to play Burke, Fleming. I'm going to start Mason Bennett. Same with you. I think if he's fit, if he's fit, then he's probably one of our best attacking players. So I'm going to start him. And again, just say to him, even if he gives us 45 minutes, we've got 5 subs. Give us 45 minutes because everything you've got, if you have to come off, you have to come off. But I'd start Mason Bennett, and obviously Bradders up top would be my team. And in answer to my second question that I asked you, do I think he'll change it? No, I think we'll go with the same team.
It'd be very brave to stick with the same team. We all know Rowett's capable of doing that, and that's why, and I can understand it absolutely why you think that he might, but it'd take a brave man to not make a change from that team that lost last night. It really would, and I don't know if Rowett's going to do that. We'll see. Well, look. Whoever he picks, whatever team goes out on Saturday, he just has to say to them, do you want a shot? Do you want a shot at the Premier League? Go and earn it. And then they got to go out and do it.
As I say, I think it's the first time. One thing Gary Rowett gets a lot of stick about a lot of things, but I always think his post-match interviews there's very few times I've ever heard him speak, and he hasn't certainly spoke what I saw in a game. I think he's very honest in his post-match interviews, and the fact that he turned around last night and pointed the finger back to the players and said, "Look, we can only do so much. We can only tell them to do so many things, but if the players don't do it, it's on them. They need to go and deliver now." And there is an element, there is just not even an element, it's 100% truth in that. It's on them now. And exactly what you just said, the team talk speaks for itself. You've got an opportunity to go in the Premier League here, or give yourself a shot at playing the Premier League. Go and earn it, go and do it, go and put yourselves potentially in Millwall history. I know we're not even in the playoffs yet, but just go and do it.
But you have to look. people have to realise, and it's not just the players, it's the fans, it's the board, it's everybody. This is as good as it's going to get unless there is serious investment in this football team. You're not going to, the league is going to get harder because you're going to have teams that are coming down. Leicester are going to sell James Maddison for so much money. If they get relegated, they're going to be able to buy a whole new squad. They're going to cherry pick the best players in the Championship. Yeah. If Ipswich come up, Portman Road, they sell it out every week. They're going to have a decent budget to spend. If Sheffield Wednesday come up, they're going to have a decent budget. Derby might have the budget if they come up. This league is as good as it gets in terms of giving an underdog an opportunity to get promoted. And I would also go as far to say that if Luton don't do it this year, I know they've got the new ground coming, but they're another club, a bit like us. How long can they sustain it, a push to the Premier League? They've done it for 2 seasons. Can we do it for 2 seasons if we don't do it this year? Can we really get in the top 6 next year? Who knows? But eventually, the bubble bursts for teams like us. And if you don't do it, and this is what Rowett's got to have in his mind, and this is what the players have got to have in their mind. If they don't do it, people like Sean Hutchinson, who maybe never thought he'd get another opportunity at playing Premier League football again, this is your time. This is your time to do it.
Totally agree, mate.
That's it.
Totally agree. And I think we're at a point now where we spoke about it a little bit on Twitter today, that I feel like we're at, you said the bubble's going to burst. I feel like we're at an end of a cycle, and all clubs go through their cycle, right? I feel like we're at that end of cycle now, whether that even is with Rowett. And we spoke about it, as I said on Twitter today. I feel like if we miss out on the playoffs again, he will look at it and go, that's 3 years on the spin now. What more can I do with this budget, with this club, with this group of players? What more can I physically possibly do? Is it time for me to move on? If we get into the playoffs and fall short or get to whatever it is, he might look at it and go, okay, there's something else to build on. We've got another opportunity. We have progressed again. But again, we've got 8 players, I think it's rumoured, to be out of contract in the summer. That is a big rebuild for any club standard, let alone ours, because we don't bring in 8 players. It's just fact. If we lose 8 players, I know some of them will re-sign. I get that. And the senior players that are in there, the likes of Hutch, I think Leonard's in there. So there's 2 straight away that are obviously big characters. So we're not going to lose both of them, I wouldn't have thought. But yeah, look, my point being is we could be at the end of a cycle with the manager, the players, everything. So yeah, exactly what you just said. I think we need to get to the point of saying, lads, this is last chance saloon. Let's just go and do it. Lay everything out on the table. No regrets at this point in the season.
Look, we could be wrong. That's just my opinion, and obviously your opinion. And other people that are listening to this are going to go, "Oh no, we're still going to have these players and this, that, and the other." And that may well be the case. Someone could come in for Fleming, offer decent money, and then you could bring in quality in maybe more positions, or someone could come in for SA. He's the England under-18 international. He's English, so you could get funds and build a squad from that, but. Just realistically, how many times can we had a rebuild job last summer, we had a rebuild job the summer before. You can't keep overhauling squad and bringing in 8 to 10 faces a season and still being successful. It just doesn't, because you're going to eventually replace good players with average ones.
Yeah, and I think we've done that to some extent with maybe the players that we've got in. I don't know who we've replaced. Well, we have. We've let go Jed, right? And we've almost replaced them with Burke, Watmore,
Bogle-Sammer,
Vogie. 3, sound harsh, but 3 average players, right? To try and make up the gap for one. I don't put Honeyman in that category because I like him.
No, I do. But what I'm saying is that he's playing.
Made.
Honeyman's playing sort of wide right. That's where Jed would be playing. And what I'm saying is I'm not. I like George. I do like George Honeyman. But what my point when I include him is that you've signed attacking players to make up for Jed. People will say, "Oh, you got Zian Fleming." They're not the same. Someone made a point last night on the space as well. You put Jed Wallace in this team, we would have won.
We would have won the game last night.
Well, we wouldn't have been talking about scraping into the top 6. We'd have been cemented in the top 6 by now. So,
well, yeah, again, we can talk about Jed Wallace till we're blue in the face, the opportunities we keep missing. But yeah, I do think if we had him, Mickey's going to hate us for even talking about this. But if we did have him, then yeah, it would be a case of, yeah, we'd be in there, we'd have cemented it. But look, that is what it is. That is what it is. So
you lose players, and unfortunately, that could happen again this summer if we don't make it. And that's what people need to realise, that, yeah, okay, we might still have a good team next year, but you're going to lose players along the way, and it's who you lose and how you replace them is the big thing.
Totally agree, mate. Totally agree. Last piece on Wigan on Saturday, prediction time.
I predict it's going to take me hours to get there. And I'm going to get into the ground, and no doubt it's probably going to be belting down with rain because we're going to be right up north. And
it's been nice up here, actually.
Oh yeah, I forget you're the
corner. The northern correspondent.
Literally just 10-minute job. Corner. Yeah. Again, it's a head and heart. The results tonight, I think, are going to play a big part in mentality, because I think if we do somehow get a boost with teams not picking up results, we can't expect them all. If Blackburn carry on winning, fine, so be it. But I think that's gonna play a part in it, because that's going to be used for the team talk. I would like to think if Wigan come at us, we will win the game, because we should win the game. There's no argument. If Wigan come at us, we should be able to create the opportunities to beat a side that's bottom of the league. And they're bottom of the league, because if we were playing Wigan 6 games ago, I'd have said no chance. They're going to sit in for a point. But now, I'm not as confident as what you are, but I would like to think that, given the circumstances, that we can go there and win the game. And I would say perhaps a 2-0 under those circumstances.
I'll take that. So I'm going to say 2-1. So, as I said, I do think we'll win. I think it massively helps that they need to win. I'm hoping it's going to be quite an open, I'm going to say exciting game, but I'm sure my heart's going to be in my mouth like everyone else's for probably 90 minutes. But yeah, I think if it's an open game, which I'm expecting, then I do think we'll win Saturday. I think we'll win 2-1. Maybe asking a lot for us to score 2 goals in one game, mate. I don't know. But yeah, I'm going to go over 2-1 win. Generally then, so last 3 games, obviously Wigan Saturday, Blackpool Friday, and then probably the big one against Blackburn. We the pod at that Millwall pod put a poll out this afternoon on how many points we will get, and Stephen said
6.
Norwich have just equalised.
That's fine. They haven't got games in hand. I'm not fussed about
Preston
them.
have also scored. It's 3-1. I don't think that's relevant.
I put 6 because I don't know if we've got it in us to win 3 games in a row. I don't think we have, and I think we've got 2 banana skin games, and that's what concerns me a little bit in Wigan and Blackpool. Maybe 7 is likely to be the figure that I think most people would expect us to get. But I think we'll get 3 on Saturday. I think we'll beat Blackburn at home. I really think we'll beat Blackburn at home. But the kind of the real one, the one that could do the damage is Blackpool. They've moved it to a Friday. It's on Sky. That's one I am a little bit worried about. But I said 6, but maybe 7 would be a little bit more of a realistic target.
If we get 6 points, and I'm assuming then we win Saturday, as you said, lose to Blackpool and beat Blackburn last game of the season, do we make the top 6? Yes or no?
I knew you were going to ask me that. Oh. If we take 6 points from the last 3 games, I don't think it's going to be enough.
So as it stands, if we take 6 points from the last 3 games, that'll leave us on 71 points. West Brom are obviously on 63 in the game in hand. That means they need to get 8 points from 4 games.
I think they've got it tough this weekend as well, haven't they, West Brom? Where do they go this weekend?
Let's have a quick look. They are playing Sunderland, so that's not easy. I mean, look, their last 4 games, they've got West Brom are at home to Sunderland Saturday, 12 o'clock kickoff. So that's a big one. Then they've got Sheffield Wednesday on Wednesday after that. Then they've got Norwich at home. And then they finish this season on Swansea away. And we're seeing tonight of Swansea beating Preston currently 3-1. I like Swansea. I don't think that's not an easy 4 games. So for them to get 8 points from that, I think that's asking quite a lot.
If 6 points gets us into the playoffs, the results are going to go massively in our favour. I think we need that buffer of the 7. I think we need. If we pick up 7, I know it's only 1 point, but at this stage of the season, it really makes a difference because it puts pressure on other teams. 3 games ago, I was confident we were making the top 6. Then at Hull, I wasn't. Then against Preston, I was. Then last night, I wasn't. Now with the games going how they are, you got a little bit more hope. But 6 points gives you a chance, but you're reliant on other results to go in your favour.
Exactly what Chap said, just while I go on to mine, exactly what Chap said. I think if we get 6, it has to be in your order as well. I think if we lose Saturday, I think it will deflate us so much, or don't even win Saturday, I just think confidence will be so low that I just don't think we'll make it. So I think we have to win Saturday. I think if we lose to Blackpool but then beat Blackburn, I think we'll be in. I said 7 points is what we'll get. And I think we will win, draw, win.
Possibly. I mean, the Blackpool game is going to be an interesting one, isn't it? Because it's their last home game of the season, but they could be down.
Can McCarthy do us a favour?
Again, we're going to... I said this to you a little while ago, that we're going to be looking at our phones up and down the country for the next 3 weeks, or at the time it was 5 weeks, and we're doing exactly the same thing, and we're going to be doing the same thing next weekend. The fact we play first next Friday before anybody else, if we win on Saturday and go to Blackpool and win, that is going to deflate teams. It really is going to deflate teams around us. But I'm not confident at Blackpool at all. Really not. But it's a championship. Why we love it, right?
It is, mate. It is. And on that note, and probably after a lot of people have switched off listening to us put the world to rights of Mo. Look, I don't think it's...
Also, this has gone over the hour, well, way over the hour mark, but it means that Mickey's editing. He's going to kill us. And if he does listen to this point, he'll love us for bringing that up.
Absolutely. Well, look, let's round it up. Final thoughts. Keep it quick.
Final thoughts. Yesterday was a hammer blow. The results as it stands, obviously I'm going off to get some dinner and catch the rest of the football. So hopefully we'll be talking a little bit more positively over the next couple of days. Win on Saturday, the doom and gloom lifts a little bit. Anything other than a win, I think the ship would have sailed. But we've both said we're going to win. I think there's a big opportunity to win the game. The players have just got to go out and show why we've been in the top 6 all this year, and show that they want to make the playoffs and give themselves a chance.
Well said, mate. And I echo all of that. And just a little bit of a rallying cry from me. Yeah, I think that Saturday we need to be a bit of that nasty Millwall again. I think we need to just make it really tough. We just have to win Saturday. As I said, I think if we don't, I think it deflates us too much into the last 2 games. I think I've said it for the last however many weeks now, season defining, but I really do think this is it. We've had so many lives, and you said it the other day, Steve, we have more lives than a cat at the minute. We have to win Saturday. I think just more for our mental state for the rest of the season. I think we have to win, and I think we will win. I'm keeping the positivity. If you've liked what Stephen and I have been speaking tonight, do go and give the pod a follow at that Millwall pod on Twitter. We are on all the socials. It helps us out massively. Give us a follow on YouTube and all of the podcast channels that are available out there. Give us a listen and a like and a subscribe. Stephen, it's always a pleasure, mate. I've enjoyed that. yeah, and I'm sure we'll speak again soon. And I will see you Saturday.
See you Saturday. And anyone travelling up to the game, come and find us. And if you didn't agree with what we said, just come and tell us to our face. We don't buy it.
Don't do that. Don't do that. No, I'm joking. Yeah, absolutely. If you're up there and want to come and have a chat, we are nice people, I think.
Most of the time.
Most of the time. That's been Birmingham Blues and Last Chance Saloon. Come on, you Lions.
Come on, you Lions.